to the Homestead Nurse channel. Today I'm gonna finally start seeds. I feel like I'm a little behind. I'm in zone 9A and it's January, let's see what it is. It's January 30th. So I'm finally starting seeds. I was waiting for some of my materials to come. I'm missing just one, but I just want to start already. I'm actually going to be doing, as you can tell from the title, soil blocking. I'm so excited to start soil blocking because I really wanted to find a different way to use less plastic. I think I'm going to try all types of ways to start seeds just in case this fails me. But I really want to master seed starting with soil blocks just because I just know it's going to be just less money buying plastic little containers. So if you don't know what soil blocking is, it's basically a block of soil that you plant your seed in instead of using like a plastic pot or those little mini starter kits, seed starting kits you get at the store. You actually have these little blocks that go in a tray, and it's made by a soil blocker. And I have a really big soil blocker. A lot of people have the mini ones. I think it's like a 1 inch. I don't know what the size is, but this is a 2-inch soil blocker. And so I'm using this as like a big handle one. That is pretty expensive, but it's way worth it if you grow a lot of food or just grow a lot of plants in general. So it is made by a soil blocker. They also have just like one-handed, like one soil blocker. There's so many different ones. I actually ordered the little small mini soil blocker aside from this one that I have because it's just I can just do more plants with those. That's what soil blocking is pretty much growing in a block of soil instead of in a plastic container or a little mini starter kit. So soil blocking goes back many years from the man himself, Eliot Coleman, who is the master at soil blocking. He has taught a lot of people throughout the years how to garden. He actually had a show on TLC years ago called Growing Naturally, and he definitely paved the way of how to grow food in a different way, a more I say sustainable way. So it's cool that people continue to do that, and you learn from other people who have learned pretty much from him. With soil blocking, you have to buy certain materials to make the soil block to hold its structure. Some people just use compost. I mean, there's so many different recipes out there. I swear, if you Google or YouTube soil blocking mixes or something like that, you're gonna find lots of people on different ways of how to do soil blocking. So, I mean, really depends on what recipe works for you and your plants. You know, stick with that. I was obviously one of those people who were trying to find out all the different ways to soil block, and I just came up with this recipe that hopefully will do well. Obviously I've never soil blocked before, so I'm not an expert on soil blocking, but I mean, this is my journey of growing a whole year's worth of food one day. So thought, well, we'll see how it goes. Looking at Eliot Coleman's recipe on that show that I saw, a clip of it, and then other people, they seem like they have some of the ingredients. A good video to see is Pete from Green Dreams. He has one where he follows that farmer who farms like half the year in Florida, half the year in Maine, and he goes through his process of what he uses, and he references Eliot Coleman. So, and then when looking at that Eliot Coleman's video of Eliot Coleman actually doing the soil mix, it was a little different. So, I mean, it's really depending. So I'm just going by what Eliot Coleman did in that video and then what other people have done and use similar things. Everything that I learn or find out about gardening, especially here in Florida in zone 9A, I write in my little book. The book I got in Washington in this cute nursery had a bunch of things in it, and I write all my everything I learn or everything I find out about what I need to know when it comes to growing food. Eliot Coleman says his soil blocks is 3 parts peat, 1 part perlite, and 3 part compost. And then he adds little amendments here and there, like azomite, green sand, phosphate, blood meal, and someone else also put lime. I mean, there's so many different ones. So I know that the structure is going to be 3 part peat moss, 1 part perlite, and 3 part compost. As long as you have that, I think you'll have a good structure. And we'll go through all those different things that I actually have right here. Okay, so this is what I have to make my soil blocks. Peat moss and perlite, which are very important, especially for seedlings, because you need aeration for the plants. It helps with drainage. Perlite, which is right here, is actually volcanic rock. Eliot Coleman called it pop rock, which is basically, like I said, it's volcanic rock with water in between its layers, and it gives a lot of structure and air to the plants when it's mixed with peat moss, which is what you want. And then you have green sand, which is a great amendment for your plants. And then blood meal, which is here, says a 1400. 1400 means it has nitrogen only, no phosphorus and no potassium. So it's a great source of nitrogen for your plants. So blood meal I'm going to be using. And of course, compost, which obviously everything grows great in compost. And after I plant all my seeds, I'm going to sprinkle some vermiculite on top. Eliot Coleman doesn't do that, but I did some research. A lot of farmers, especially market gardeners, using vermiculite. Even Florette, if you follow Florette, she puts vermiculite. It's a great thing to put on top of plants to just keep the moisture and keep in nutrients. So I'm going to use vermiculite on top of all the seedlings. That's everything I'm going to be using. The only thing I'm missing, which I'm actually getting tomorrow, which I just can't wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow's Monday and I work all day, so I won't be able to start seeds, is azomite, which is another amendment, just like green sand, to help with the plants. So now that you see what I'm using to make the soil blocks, when it comes to supplies, I bought these trays of a pack of 10. And I actually bought these trays, but it had holes in them and they were the wrong ones. I wanted the ones with no holes because I want to bottom water my plants, not top water. So when the plants are in here, I could just put water and it'll just absorb up from the bottom. So I bought these trays, so I have 10 of them from Amazon, pretty cheap. This is not cheap, but this is what I was talking about. This is the soil block. It makes 35 soil blocks in one go. And so this is definitely very industrial looking, but it's beneficial if you plant a lot. And this was a little, I think this is over $200 on Amazon, so I got this. This was my housewarming gift to myself when we got this property. So this was in a box since we moved here, and I just opened it today, so that's exciting. And I have this container, which I'm going to be using to mix everything. And then if I make a lot, I'll just put it in a tub for later, for more soil blocking, for more seed starting later. And then I'm going to be using this as my measuring. So with the recipe of 1 part this, 2 part that, or whatever it is, this is what I'm going to be using for my measurement. So let's get started, and we'll go ahead and mix everything. So you can buy the big bag of peat moss like I did. As you see here, I bought the big one, but you can also buy a small one that you get at the store, any store. So when it comes to peat, it says the recipe that I'm going to be using that I said earlier, I'm going to be putting 3 parts peat. So I'm going to be just putting 2 parts first, just because he said, according to Eliot, putting in a little bit at a time first and incorporating all the amendments is best. So I'm going to use this, like I said, as my measuring. So I'm going to go ahead and put 2 of these in here. So this is my first part. It's very fluffy, as you see. Now I'm going to open my big bag of perlite. That's why I bought the big one, because I know I'm going to make a lot. Now if you're not planting that much, I would just use a smaller pot for your parts, for your measuring. This is pretty big, because if you buy these types of bags, it's going to go really fast. Now for my amendments, I'm going to put, I don't have azomite, but I'll put a half a cup of azomite. I'm going to put 1 cup of green sand and 1 cup of blood meal. And then I have a lime, because I did buy lime, which is right here. I put a bunch of lime in there. I guess I can try and put 1 cup of lime. I'm going to use this as my cup measure. Put 1 cup of blood meal. Alright, I'm going to put half a cup of lime. Now I'm going to add 3 parts compost. Alright, compost bucket number 2, number 3. Next step is to water it down to the point where it's like a brownie mix. You'll hear that a lot if you see a lot of soil blocking videos. Like, you want it to be like a brownie mix. That when you squeeze it, you have some water seeping out. Not a whole ton, but just enough. Okay. I think the great thing about this is that if it's too wet, you just add more. If it's too dry, you just add more water. Tools. This is probably better. Ooh, way better. This is a lot of soil mix to mix, so maybe it's gonna take a little bit. Alright, now that I put the other part peat moss, a little bit of water, not as much, so let's try this. Nice and firm. You put the seed right in there, and then I'm going to cover it with vermiculite on top. So there we go. little by little water. Water is key. I mean, I can obviously add more peat moss. I think I would add more peat moss, but you just really have to put just your whole body into it. I think when I get the little small ones, I can do that really easily with my hand. These you need like your whole body, which is, it's good to get a lot at once. And this size is pretty awesome to have. I mean, knowing that they already have a hole, they're pretty moist. It's pretty cool. I mean, I think I did a good job for my first time soil blocking. Just got to get used to that motion of releasing every single time I do it. So, you know, I'll get better. But at least now I finally have some soil blocks I can use to start my seeds. So I'm excited. It's going to be a great growing season. Let me go and get some seeds and put them in here. I'm not going to show you every single seed that I'm growing, but that I'm putting in these soil blocks. But I'm just going to grow a few. 2 seeds per block, which usually people do, and then they just thin them. I'm also going to be bottom watering these, so I'm just going to pour water right here, and then the water will soak up from the bottom. Now it may look a mess, but I just had to use these labels for now, and then later when I get a permanent marker, I'll go ahead and use my labels and then tape it to each plant. So now everything is planted. The only thing I didn't get to plant is my flowers, which I'm gonna have to do next time. And this is the vermiculite, very airy. Just gonna go ahead and sprinkle on top. Make sure they're all covered. So I'm going to go ahead and just put my seedlings underneath my LEDs, and I have a heating pad, and so seedlings should at least get 14 to 16 hours of sunlight. So like I showed from before about this timer here, so it can shut the heat, I mean the light can shut off after 16 hours. So I figured it out. Thanks for one of my viewers told me that I need to put these as their reflectors. And I noticed that they have a groove. And so right over here, I just slide it in, and now it will stay. So thank you for your help. And now I'm gonna keep on putting these on. I know I had to put them closer. I didn't mention that in my last video. Thanks for viewer to say that as well. Thank you guys for helping me out. But instead of putting change, which they suggested, I just put another tray on top to get them close. So yeah, looks like they're doing well. I had a little issue with the water, and so they were being flooded, and I had to drastically take them out and put them in new containers, and now all my labels are messed up, which I'll figure out what they all are eventually. But now I don't have an idea. Like, I know all these are cucumbers, but when it comes to the specific varieties, I just have to figure it out later. But everything's growing really well. As you can see, some of them got damaged when I was moving them, but it's okay. Some of them are still growing. Look at that, even with the disaster I created with watering. These blocks are still looking good though. These are all tomatoes and peppers, I know that. Thank you guys for the suggestions. I love this gardening community. We just help each other out and we figure it out together. I'm glad that I'm getting germination. Not all of them, but a good amount of them. I guess it's working out, the soil blocks. I think my soil blocking is getting so much better. Everything's looking really solid when it comes to the bigger ones. And the smaller ones, you know, this is work in progress, but I know with the smaller ones, all you gotta put is like 2 ingredients, maybe just like compost and peat, and that's it. You don't need to put all the amendments, but I'm just using the small ones as well, and hopefully, you know, growing as much food as possible with these soil blocks, the big one and the small one. Thank you for tagging along with me while I start my soil blocking journey. This is gonna be a really work in progress for me. I can't wait to get better at soil blocking and see how all of my vegetables and flowers will grow in them. So if you haven't subscribed, please do, and I'll see you guys in the next one.